Part 173. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1726. Zuyun was very fast and left as soon as he said he would. The World Sea was still quite far from Qingping Fairyland. However, with Zuyun's current state, it would take 2 hours to get there. But just as he left, the teleportation array in the Imperial City lit up. The sea monster escorted the array immortal out of it. Huh? The immortal emperor seems. The array immortal was going to say hello to Ji Tianqing, but he immediately felt that something was wrong in the palace. Why were so many of Ji Tianqing's harem women gathered in the bedroom? You go back to the World Sea first, I'll go over and take a look. There was no need to go through the teleportation array anymore, so the utilization value of the sea monster was naturally gone. The sea monster bowed and swaggered out of the Imperial City. And the array immortal turned into a ball of light and flew over. Goddess! All the concubines knew the array immortal and knelt on the ground. The queen wiped her tears and came forward, crying, "Please ask the immortal to beg our majesty." What happened to old Ji? The immortal also stared. Ji Tianqing has power and status in this world of the universe. Besides, the world of the universe is extremely safe. As long as Zuyun does not move, ordinary people will not be able to hurt him even if they commit crimes in the Imperial City, let alone enter the palace. Moreover, Ji Tianqing and the Tianming Beast clan have a life and death relationship. Even if he is now polite, he dare not speak too loudly, so as not to cause Ji Tianqing's misunderstanding and thus cause Zuyun's dissatisfaction. I don't know, the queen wiped her tears and said, Zhu Xian brought him back, and just told the concubines to take good care of him. Zhu Xian also said that your majesty is not in danger of life, but it is unknown when he will wake up. Zuyun is here. Xianxian was stunned for a moment, but then he said to himself, he probably came to find me and ran into Laoji, right? He looked at the queen and said, since Zhu Xian said it's okay, then your majesty must be okay too. I'll go ask Zhu Xian and leave first. When the women heard Xianxian say the same thing, they were relieved and personally sent Xianxian away. Why did Laoji faint inexplicably? Could it be Zuyun's doing? Otherwise, who would hurt him? On the way back, Xianxian was puzzled, but he was a beat slower than Zuyun after all. When Zuyun was still 100 miles away from the near World Sea, his face changed. A mysterious force was flowing in the air. Looking at the direction, it was coming from the World Sea. Zuyun immediately thought of the stone demon dragon. Could it be that the dragon stone failed to merge into the jade slip? Thinking of this, Zuyun became anxious. The instrument immortal of the immortal mansion is related to his space-time avenue. He had a hunch that if the space-time law was established, it would be a sure thing for him to break through to the golden immortal of Deluo. It was even possible for him to break through to the upper immortal of Lucian in one fell swoop. In that case, he could walk freely in the immortal realm, so what was there to fear? Hurry up and take a look. Originally, Zuyun, who was just moving at a normal speed, also sped up immediately. But the closer he got to the World Sea, the more panicked Zuyun became. The power in the air surged more violently, and even the sky was dyed red. This red was the red of the dragon stone. Could it be that the immortal array arranged by the array immortal did not work? Before reaching the destination, he could feel such turbulence, which showed how much trouble the dragon stone had undergone. It not only concerns his laws of time and space, but also the safety of the dragon stone. Zuyun was extremely anxious and could not help but control the chaos immortal power in his body. In an instant, the chaos lotus moved, and Zuyun's speed increased again. At this time, Xianxian, who was rushing, suddenly felt something strange in his arms. He suddenly took out the bracelet and saw a grayish-white light on it. Is this chaos power? Xianxia knew Zuyun very well. The light on the bracelet at this time was exactly the same as Zuyun's previous chaos power. He hesitated for a long time and still chased after him. This immortal weapon was thrown in by Zuyun, and I don't know how much it has to do with him. But this immortal weapon has changed, and I don't know if it is bad for Zuyun. His future depends on Zuyun. Zhenxian dare not neglect it, and regardless of the loss of his immortal soul power, he chased after him closely. Not long after, he caught up with the sea monster first. Zhenxian, why are you in such a hurry? The sea monster greeted him hurriedly. No hurry, let's go. Zhenxian slapped the sea monster fiercely. He was sure that the incident happened on the other side of the world sea. Because when running over, the light on the bracelet was even more intense. This is a magic weapon refined by the 5 elements Xianxian. Naturally, the closer it is to the Chaos Lotus, the brighter the light. And Zuyun, in a hurry, not only used the Chaos Force, but also made the Chaos Lotus move. It is normal for the bracelet to glow. But because of this, the wrong information was conveyed to Zhenxian. Zhenxian, wait for me. This time, the sea monster was also anxious. They finally survived from Huangmingxing to the great universe world, and from a small lake to a large sea area. It was not easy to come, so naturally they were afraid of trouble. The sea monster immediately changed into its original form and flew away in the sky. After half an hour, Zuyun finally arrived at the world sea. Facing the frenzied red demonic power, there were also various powers such as demonic energy and immortal power. The immortal formation set up by the formation fairy was obviously unstoppable, but Zuyun could not care too much and plunged into the enchanting red formation. With the divine eye technique, he saw through the formation of the formation fairy and went straight into the formation gate. He saw the dragon suppressing stone lying on the ground, revealing the body of a demon dragon. At this time, the dragon suppressing stone was dying. And the jade slip was embedded in the eyebrows of the dragon suppressing stone. The jade slip kept flashing green light, which was in harmony with the red light of the dragon suppressing stone. Although the range of the green light was not large. But the dragon suppressing stone, which was red all over, could not do anything about this green light. And Zuyun also felt a familiar breath in this green light. Lian Zhen, Immortal Lord. Zuyun gritted his teeth and glared. I thought that the Immortal Lord Lian Zhen had taken away all the residual souls in the jade slip. But I didn't expect that the Immortal Lord Lian Zhen actually left a residual consciousness. It was equivalent to planting a hidden nail on Zuyun's body. It's really a bit surprising, kid. You actually want to make a demon dragon become the instrument fairy of the fairy palace. Almost ruined my good deeds. The voice was melodious and crisp, but it made Zuyun full of anger. So, you also want to take away Nangong Tianli's fairy palace. Zuyun already knew the purpose of the Immortal Lord Lian Zhen. Yes, this is a fairy palace in chaos, who doesn't want to get it? Not to mention a top figure like the Immortal Lord Lian Zhen. Of course, the Immortal Lord Lian Zhen laughed contemptuously. This fairy palace is built on the basis of my time law. If it is handed over to others, wouldn't it be a pity? As the voice fell, a green light suddenly shot out from the jade slip, heading straight for Zuyun's eyebrows. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1727. You can't even think of succeeding. Zuyun's eyes narrowed. He didn't know what the green light was, so he couldn't care too much and directly took out the immortal soul with a hammer. Boom! The immortal soul hammer explodes with endless power. Boy, are you in the universe world? How can you have such a powerful source of power? Zuyun's burst of power at this time surprised Lian Zhen Immortal Lord. 90% of this green light was immediately destroyed, leaving only a tiny wisp, which he hurriedly hid in the jade slip. At this time, the dragon suppressing stone finally made a sound. Master. This ghost is the one causing the trouble, otherwise I would have become a master. Don't worry, Zuyun, will definitely do what I promised you. Even if you can't become a weapon immortal and live forever, I can make you realize the Tao and become an immortal. Zuyun has made up his mind to destroy this jade slip. Although, this is also a loss for him. But the big deal is, what's the harm if he refines the weapon again and refines a jade slip? It's just that the skill of refining weapons is not enough at this time, it still needs some time. Master, don't destroy it. Seeing this, Zhenlongshi quickly exclaimed, just leave it to me. Zuyun was stunned and asked, are you sure? Ha ha ha, of course. I have, the power of a true dragon. How can a mere ray of residual consciousness be able to stop me? Although the dragon suppressing stone is somewhat unformed, after hundreds of years of fighting with the remnant soul of Lianzhen Immortal Lord, he has a clear understanding of the strength of both parties. Now that some of them were destroyed by Zuyun, he knew that he had all the advantages. Hooray! Red light was everywhere, and the 9 dragons' body of the dragon suppressing stone suddenly projected a giant red dragon. Hold head high. The roar of the dragon echoed in the formation, and the shadow opened its huge mouth and rushed towards the jade slip above the body. This is the demon dragon soul. Zuyun was surprised and happy. But at this time, Immortal Lord Lianzhen's voice suddenly sounded again. Time, turn back. As soon as the words fell, the red dragon phantom actually moved backwards and got back into the demon body. And then, the green light bloomed again, and the balance was restored. Zuyun screamed, Law of Time. Immortal Lord Lianzhen said coldly, Boy, how can you understand the power of my immortal lord? Yes, this is the law of time. Zuyun's breathing was rapid, and he was a little overwhelmed for a moment. What he saw with his own eyes made him unbelievable. Time. Can it flow backwards? One can imagine how powerful the time laws of immortal Lianzhen are. At the same time, Southern Fairyland. Immortal Lord Lianzhen, who was hiding in a wilderness somewhere, spat out a mouthful of blood with a pop. This kid, actually forced me to use the law of time from such a distance. Without this time artifact, I'm afraid the clone's remnant consciousness would have died. Immortal Lord Lianzhen adjusted his breath for a few breaths, and his face finally looked a little better. We can't go on like this, I have to rush over. However, the place where Zuyun finally disappeared was in the 2 great immortal realms of the north and west. To unify the southern immortal realm and achieve the position of immortal emperor, we should wait for the time being. Only if I seize the immortal mansion can I be convincing enough to convince the evil immortals here to support me as the immortal emperor of the south. Immortal Lord Lianzhen's eyes flashed with sparkle, and then his figure flashed. The next moment, he disappeared from the wilderness and appeared in the void environment. Law of time, slow down. I saw that he stretched out his hand and danced. There was nothing beside him, but ripples suddenly appeared. With the power of law flowing around him, Immortal Lord Lianzhen slowly took a step forward. But the next moment, he appeared hundreds of miles away. Under the power of the law, he can cross hundreds of miles with every step he takes. Even if it's a detour. It doesn't take long to get to Mayanbei Fairy Kingdom. However, with his full attention, he naturally had no time to take care of the remaining consciousness of the clone in the universe. So when the formation Immortal also broke into the Immortal formation, Lianzhen Immortal Lord had no idea what was happening. Zuyun, you. When he saw Zuyun's solemn expression and looking directly at the jade slip, Zhengxian's expression also changed. He was just as speechless as Zuyun at that time. Lianzhen Immortal Lord. Xianxia, I didn't expect you to become this kid's lackey. It's really ridiculous. Logically speaking, we should have sympathy for each other and find a way to return to the immortal world. Qin Shi was quite surprised to see the formation Immortal. Unexpectedly, the array immortal turned to Lu Chen and asked for the immortal crystal. "Give me $108. Zhu Yun looked confused, otherwise what would the array immortal want Xianjing to do at this time? Facing the doubtful gaze, the array immortal's expression became more solemn, but he opened his mouth but did not make any sound. But Zhu Yun understood. This is to set up a formation. He took out the high-grade fairy crystal from the storage bag without hesitation. Even the formation immortal is so careful, I guess this immortal refining immortal must have some unbelievable means due to his residual knowledge. Array immortal, what are you doing? Immortal Lord Lianzhen obviously knew the formation immortal. When he saw him taking the immortal crystal and scattering it towards the edge, he couldn't help but shouted anxiously, "If you have something to say, let's talk it over. You and I will join hands. When the time comes." Before the time comes, the immortal of the formation strengthened the immortal formation with every move, and then sneered, "What you said earlier was quite right. We should have sympathy for each other. But you escaped from the fragments at that time, and have you thought about how to help me?" "Why not?" Immortal Lord Lianzhen asked anxiously, "It's just that I haven't found the main fragment." "How can I help you?" "Joke." The formation immortal snorted, "In the immortal world, when it comes to refining weapons, you are the second best, and no one dares to be the first. Even if you can't refine a fairy mirror like Nangong Tianli, you have become the Yujing weapon immortal. It's not difficult to find me, the mirror immortal, right? It's just a matter of whether you want to find it or not." Immortal Lianzhen wanted to say something else, but Immortal Zhen didn't give him a chance at all and sneered, "Moreover, you have left a residual consciousness here. Obviously, you still covet this Dao-glazed mirror. In other words, you covet this immortal mansion. Could it be that, you want to seize the immortal mansion, then unify the southern immortal territory and become the new southern immortal emperor?" As soon as these words came out, even Zhu Yun was shocked. Involuntarily, he thought of the experience he had with Sidu Qingchen in the southern fairyland. A realm master who possesses the magical weapon of the law of time. Nonsense. Why do I want to become an immortal emperor? What virtues and abilities do I have? Besides, how can I convince the public? The formation immortal sneered, "Don't underestimate yourself. If I guessed correctly, you would have refined evil immortal weapons for some evil immortals, right? You even passed some refining methods to the lower world. Don't think that I know, Immortal Master Lianzhen. Or, it's not an exaggeration to call you Evil Master Lianzhen. Your normal weapon refining has reached a bottleneck, so you have to change your approach and let the lower world test some evil weapons first to verify some of your ideas." The more the formation immortal talked, the more he thought of something. Suddenly he looked at Zhu Yun with a solemn expression and said, "If my guess is correct, then the refining method of the demon refining tower seems to have been passed down to the lower world by him." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1728. What, the demon refining tower? Zhu Yun's expression changed drastically. He had entered the demon refining tower several times, and in the end the demon refining tower was taken away by Zhu Feng twice and became Zhu Feng's natal magic weapon. Nowadays, the demon refining tower is missing, but he never thought that the immortal formation remembered at this time that the demon refining tower has an inseparable relationship with the refining lord. No wonder, he wants to become the southern immortal emperor. Even, he was refined by Nangong Tianli into the weapon spirit of Dao Immortal Mansion, which also has a certain relationship. Haha, the maniacal laughter of Zhen Immortal Lord Kanchen came from the jade's lips. I didn't expect that someone actually made the demon refining tower. Through Zhu Yun's reaction, it was not difficult for Qin Shi to guess that Zhu Yun had seen the demon refining tower with his own eyes. Zhu Yun, who knew he had made a mistake, immediately put away his expression, but the formation immortal smiled and said, "It doesn't matter, I have set up the immortal formation to completely isolate the residual consciousness from his body. No matter what you say here, Lian, even the true immortal Lord himself won't know. Array immortal, don't you think that if you destroy my residual consciousness, my body will know nothing?" Kanchi didn't seem to care at all, and his tone was even full of disdain. "Can you find your true body here again?" The formation immortal even disagreed. "Array immortal, you were originally a great universe artifact immortal, and I was originally a great universe artifact immortal, so why don't you know this? Moreover, you have always been in the universe mirror, right? But I left the universe mirror a long time ago. You really take it seriously, don't I know where Yu Jing is?" After hearing this, Zhu Yun and Zheng Xian's expressions changed. It is true that their conversation will not be leaked at this time, but if immortal Lord Lian Zhen can really sense the location of the immortal mansion, I am afraid he will definitely come here at this time. And he himself is trapped in chaos. So now, there is only one way. Erase the remaining consciousness of immortal Lord Lian Zhen, and then perfectly integrate the great universe immortal mansion and the great universe world. Zhu Yun, do you have a way to kill him? The formation immortal also realized the problem and said quickly. It's just a residual consciousness, he can't be controlled here. Having said that, Zhu Yun tried his best. No matter whether Qin Shi revealed such information or not, he would die. No wonder it is difficult for the dragon suppressing stone to enter this jade slip. In an instant, a huge aura emerged from Zhu Yun's body, and the original power of the entire universe rushed towards this place, entering Zhu Yun's body through the formation. Die! Zhu Yun's eyes widened angrily, and his eyes shone brightly. At the same time, he took out the immortal soul hammer and smashed it towards the jade slip. The immortal soul hammer is used to restrain and suppress this kind of soul body or residual consciousness. Ha ha ha, my true body will find it here. Amidst the crazy laughter, the remaining consciousness was smashed to pieces. The dragon suppressing stone also glowed with red light, and it penetrated into it extremely smoothly. Instantly, an extremely mysterious feeling passed through Zhu Yun's mind, as if he was connected to the dragon suppressing stone. "Master, take me back to the immortal mansion." Deep in my heart, the excited voice of Zhen Longstone suddenly sounded. "Okay, I'll go now." Zhu Yun nodded to the array immortal, and then his figure disappeared immediately. When he appears now, he is already in the immortal mansion. Call. The jade slip suddenly flew out, hovered above Zhu Yun's head for a few times, and then flew towards the gate of the immortal mansion. Zhu Yun quickly followed and saw the jade slip flying all the way to the gate, facing the void, flying into the plaque on the front door of the immortal mansion, and then embedded in it. This. Zhu Yun was stunned. "Master, only in this position can I be inconspicuous and difficult to be discovered. Likewise, I can also control the immortal mansion. In addition, if the immortal Lord Lian Zhen comes, he may not be able to find me." The voice of the dragon suppressing stone sounded in Lu Chen's mind. That's right, he could hear the conversation between Zhu Yun and others in the immortal formation, so he naturally remembered it in his heart. Now he is the immortal of the immortal mansion, he is there when the immortal mansion is there, and when the immortal mansion dies. What else is he talking about immortality? Okay, Zhu Yun clapped his palms and said, "Then can you feel the position of the great universe world now? Can you fly towards it?" "I still need to get familiar with it," Zhen Longxi said. "After I can fully control the immortal mansion, I can fly faster. Then this place will be left to you for the time being. If there are any problems, please notify me in time." Zhu Yun pointed to his temple. Zhen Longxi smiled and said, "Master, there is no need for this. Now that I have become a weapon immortal, I am actually connected to your soul. No matter where you are, as long as your heart moves, you can know the situation in this immortal mansion. Real. Zuyun was immediately overjoyed. Of course it's true. Zhenlongshi felt proud, and then said, you should go back to the world of Dazhu quickly. When I saw the formation immortal entering the immortal formation earlier, his body seemed to be still glowing. Zuyun was stunned for a moment, then came to his senses, nodded, and said, if you have any questions, let me know and I'll leave first. After that, he returned to the immortal mansion, passed through the small courtyard, and returned to the great universe world again. But, he ignored one problem. When he returned to the great universe, he appeared in the center of the great universe, not at the world sea. Zuyun patted his forehead and said, Xianxia still needs help from me. Maybe he found something interesting because of the light on his body. He's already here, I'll go and see Wei first. Mengwei is in the ancestral land of the Destiny ancestral beast, and the ancestral land is behind Jixian mountain. As soon as Zuyun flew over, he saw a figure flying out of the mine in Jixian mountain. Boy Zuyun, you want to see your mother-in-law as soon as you come here, right? You don't want to say hello to me, brother. Lin Zhenghong cursed and stopped in front of Zuyun. But before Zuyun could speak, Lin Zhenghong's expression tightened and he approached Zuyun and sniffed him carefully. No, you kid, you're hiding something from me. Why don't you tell the truth? Lin Zhenghong had a straight face and blew his beard, looking very much like Yesuanhua when he was angry. Usually Yesuanhua is not really angry at this time. Zuyun just smiled and raised his eyebrows and said, Brother Lin, I have hidden many things from you. Which thing do you want to ask? Good boy. Lin Zhenghong was also caught off guard by Zuyun's rhetorical question, and couldn't help but cursed, of course it's about the Emperor's chain. I smell the Emperor's chain on you. Damn it, you found it, and why? Not to me. Zuyun sighed deliberately, oh, Brother Lin, it's not that I don't give it, it's really, I just found the Emperor chain, and I met an immortal king who wanted to kill me. I had no choice but to use the Emperor chain tied him up. No, you are a golden immortal, and there is an immortal who wants to kill you. Who wants to kill you? Zuyun immediately sneered, you, Lin Fei from Purgatory Mountain, are not the only immortal lord who wants to kill me. I don't know, which one do you want to ask? I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1729. Wow, Lin Zhenghong was furious and cursed, boy, can you please stop being so showy? Do you know that with the Emperor chain, I can regain control of Purgatory Mountain, and when the time comes, I will be your solid backing. Come on, Zuyun curled his lips and said, Purgatory Mountain is now colluding with several immortal lords. Otherwise, if Lin Fei achieves the position of immortal lord, no one in the immortal world will know about it. And he will even more taking the imperial chain as your own, can't you imagine what's going on? What's the meaning? Lin Zhenghong frowned and said, our purpose in Purgatory Mountain has always been not to have anything to do with any fairy land. Our duty is to maintain the stability of the fairy land. Zuyun shook his head and said, as far as we know, the immortal world is very chaotic. Even if you come to Purgatory Mountain, you can't be alone. What's more, the immortal emperor is missing, and your close friend Yayong doesn't know whether to live or die. Do you have news about Yayong? Lin Zhenghong became excited when he mentioned Yayong. Zuyun thought for a while and said, but you also said that Qiu Linjian can't be trusted. I still can't figure out whether Qiu Linjian wants to use me and then kill me. Killing you, I won't, Lin Zhenghong thought for a moment and said, but using you, that's for sure. In Qiu Linjian's eyes, Yayong is the only one. She will use even her son. This. Zuyun stared, somewhat unbelievable. But after thinking about it, it seems that it is really possible. During his communication with Ye Yuan, he discovered that Ye Yuan also discovered that the fairy world was far from what he knew in Huangming Xing. This shows that Qiu Linjian also lied to him. As for the purpose, Ye Yuan did not mention it. She even lied to her biological son, so Sun Qiniang, who was adopted as her goddaughter by Qiu Linjian. It's possible that it's been exploited. Fortunately, I took precautions. Zhu Yun took a breath and decided to reveal some news to Lin Zhenghong. What I know now is that Lin Fei is colluding with 5 elements Sangxian and Ximen Yuanqing. What? This news was like a bolt from the blue to Lin Zhenghong. Don't talk nonsense. The 5 elements loose immortals' whereabouts are uncertain and he only cares about cultivation. This is why he is at odds with Nangong Tian. If he doesn't fight for power and gain, and he's not an evil immortal, how can he collude with Purgatory Mountain? The directions of these interests are completely inconsistent. Believe it or not. Zhu Yun spread his hands. In fact, before he said this, he had already thought about it. If Lin Zhenghong could believe it, then he would choose to hand over the Emperor chain with the 5 elements loose immortal to Lin Zhenghong. Ximen Yuanqing is possible. Although this immortal emperor is a bit weak, he is very scheming. Lin Zhenghong's tone became colder, and he continued, he did not violate any of the rules set by our Purgatory Mountain. Otherwise, I would have arrested him first instead of dealing with Nangong Tianli. Zhu Yun thought for a while and said, is there a possibility that your fight with Nangong Tianli was also used by others? Impossible, Lin Zhenghong glared and said, I am the majestic lord of Purgatory Mountain and possess the Emperor chain. Who dares to use me? When I am angry, the immortal world will shake several times. Then tell me, why didn't you bring the God chain with you at that time? If you had, Nangong Tianli would definitely not be your opponent, right? And Zhu Yun just said it casually, but he couldn't stand Lin Zhenghong's stubbornness and acceptance of death. I think back then, when he was still a yellow star, he just wanted to ask Lin Zhenghong something. The result was unexplainable, because he was possessed by evil magic and had some evil energy in his body, so he was suppressed by Lin Zhenghong under the Purgatory Mountain in the Tianfu space. In the end, he could only rely on his incarnation to walk in the spiritual world. But as he said this, he suddenly remembered something. Based on his current concept, it seems that there are very few people who can take advantage of him. And from Lin Zhenghong's words, it can be heard that he has an excellent relationship with Ye Yang. Is it possible? Was Ye Yang using him? What's more, tell me quickly, I don't like people who only half speak and keep it secret. Lin Zhenghong was really angry this time. He glared at Zhu Yun without saying a word, and even exuded a faint aura of an immortal king. Brother Lin, this is my territory. Is it any use if you threaten me? Zhu Yun was immediately unhappy. Lin Zhenghong also realized his situation and quickly smiled and said, yes, yes, you are saying that your universe is getting more and more perfect. That's pretty much it, Zhu Yun nodded slightly, still deciding in his heart to return the Emperor chain to Lin Zhenghong. He also thought of his own situation. Wasn't he also controlled by Ximen Yuanqing? Now the entrance to chaos is guarded by the immortal generals of the Western Immortal Emperor's mansion. There are more than 10 Luo Tianchang immortals. Zhu Yun will not be able to leave in the short term. If they contact Lin Fei again, it will be equivalent to him having another enemy. But if we ask Lin Zhenghong to go out and restrain Lin Fei, let him pass the news to Bei Minjiun, then he will be one step ahead of Ximen Yuanqing. Even if Bei Minjiun was not invited, he would still have a chance to escape. For example, using Bei Minjiun to give the immortal blood bell is more than enough to deal with immortal Luo Tian. After just thinking for a moment, Zhu Yun said, wait a minute, I'll get the Tian talisman, but you must also be mentally prepared. Thank you, brother, Lin Zhenghong said with a smile, with the Emperor chain, I am only one step away from reshaping my body. However, there will be no problem returning to Purgatory Mountain. When the time comes, when you have finished your business, go to my Purgatory Mountain, and I will definitely treat you with the specialties of my Purgatory Mountain. Zuyun chuckled, your Purgatory Mountain specialties? These immortal trapping chains. How is it possible? Lin Zhenghong pretended to be angry. Brother Zhu, you have my true teachings, and the immortal trapping chains can't lock you up. Even the Emperor chain will not bind a person with the Divine Eyes technique. The Divine Eyes technique has such a magical effect. Zuyun was stunned. Of course, the Divine Eyes technique is the identity symbol of my Purgatory Mountain people. So. Zuyun interrupted with a sneer, I don't want to be a Purgatory Mountain person, either catching evil immortals or on the way to catching evil immortals. This, Lin Zhenghong scratched his head and wanted to explain, but he saw Zuyun's figure flash and disappeared on the spot. Because of the difference in the speed of time. Lin Zhenghong waited for a whole day before Zuyun finally arrived. Brother, why did you take so long? Zuyun laughed dumbly, too lazy to say anything, and took out the heavenly talisman and threw it in front of Lin Zhenghong. Is the Emperor chain in it? Lin Zhenghong happily took the heavenly talisman and was about to probe his immortal consciousness into it when Zuyun suddenly remembered something and his face changed drastically. He quickly stopped him and said, Brother Lin, no. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1730. Lin Zhenghong stretched out his hand in the Tian talisman. When he heard Zuyun's words, he couldn't help but turn his head and ask strangely, why, my Emperor chain is not in it? It's not that it's not there, it's just that it's really not suitable to be taken out in this world. Zuyun smiled bitterly and said, I didn't lie to you, the Emperor chain really tied up an immortal king. If he appeared in this world, wouldn't this place collapse? Lin Zhenghong suddenly realized. He looked around, then nodded and said, it is true that although this universe is becoming more and more perfect, there cannot be immortals in it. The same is true, I cannot fully recover my body. In this way, you send me out and I'll take it out, that should be fine, right? Zuyun smiled bitterly and said, yes, yes, but do you know where I will be after I go out? It doesn't matter where it is, Lin Zhenghong said angrily, Purgatory Mountain is still mine. I can naturally find where Purgatory Mountain is. How can I get lost in this fairy world? This is what you said, don't blame me. Zuyun rolled his eyes, and then put his hand on Lin Zhenghong's shoulder. His heart moved, and the next moment, Zuyun appeared in the chaos. This is. Seeing the chaotic power flowing around him, Lin Zhenghong was a little confused for a moment, chaos. Zuyun nodded, yes, it's chaos. You actually found chaos? This is unreasonable. Lin Zhenghong looked Zuyun up and down, pondered for a moment, and suddenly said, are you looking for the immortal master? I don't have such great ability, Zuyun immediately denied, saying, what kind of person is the immortal master? Even if I can find him, I can't help him much, right? That's true, Lin Zhenghong agreed, nodded, and then said, but chaos can't stop me. After all, it belongs to the fairy world, and Purgatory Mountain also came from chaos before. Then, I'm leaving. Zuyun couldn't wait to leave now. He just wanted to go back and see Mengwei. Let's go, Lin Zhenghong's hand was still inserted into the Tianfu, and he waved the other hand impatiently, but felt that his tone was wrong, so he quickly changed his tone, remember, come and sit in my Purgatory Mountain when you have time. Zuyun smiled casually, and then returned to the world of Dazhu again. Hee, boy Zuyun, brother, you don't believe me if I tell you the truth. I'll surprise you then. Lin Zhenghong gave a bad laugh, and then used his immortal power to enter the Tianfu space through his arm. The next moment, his expression changed. Tianfu is also his. After the immortal power entered, he quickly discovered the difference in the Tianfu space. The Emperor's chain is at the bottom of Purgatory Mountain. But just as Zuyun said, this Emperor chain actually tied an immortal lord. Damn it, is it really the 5 elements immortal? Lin Zhenghong thought for a moment and took out the Emperor chain. Ha ha ha, boy, have you figured it out and want to let me go? The 5 elements loose immortal naturally felt the changes in the place where he was. As soon as he entered the chaos, he laughed wildly. Unexpectedly, a contemptuous voice came over. 5 elements loose immortal, long time no see. I never thought you would fall into my hands. Lin Zhenghong. The 5 elements loose immortal's face changed greatly. You're not dead? You're really not dead, and you've come to the chaos. Is there anywhere in this fairy world that I can't go to? I heard that you even colluded with that guy Lin Fei. You're quite courageous. Lin Zhenghong raised his hand, slapped him in the face, and said, if you confess, you will be lenient, if you resist, you will be stern. Be honest, how many other people in Purgatory Mountain have been bribed by you? Lin Zhenghong, you are wrong among all things, and you should not show up at this time. The 5 elements loose immortal narrowed his eyes and said, you can't kill me at all. With the Emperor chain protecting him, Lin Zhenghong, the original owner of the Emperor chain, couldn't do anything to him. And now that he has not yet achieved his immortal body, if he releases the 5 elements loose immortal, he is no match. I can't kill you, but I can still insult you. Lin Zhenghong didn't take it seriously. Of course he knew it wouldn't work. Otherwise, he would have used his immortal power to slap him just now. Another reason is that Lin Zhenghong was suppressed by chaos and was unable to exert the power of the immortal lord at all. Therefore, he naturally did not dare to let go of the 5 elements loose immortal. A scholar can be killed, but not humiliated. Lin Zhenghong, you have the guts to let me go. When 5 elements Xianxia saw Lin Zhenghong putting his hands on his waist, his expression changed greatly. If Lin Zhenghong, his majestic immortal lord, was humiliated, how would he lose his face if word spread? This is worse than killing him. I can't kill you, of course Lin Zhenghong couldn't be like this. He was just pretending. He was satisfied to see the 5 elements loose immortal in such a posture. Putting away his hand, he looked at the 5 elements loose immortal up and down, used his hands and feet together, and beat him up again, and then threw the 5 elements loose immortal back into the Tianfu space. He clapped his hands and said to himself, it's time to go back to Purgatory Mountain. Only by regaining control of Purgatory Mountain can we possibly help that boy Zuyun. Alas, there is no other way. Who made me tired of being the mountain master and wanted to let him? What about taking over? After putting away the sky talisman, Lin Zhenghong stretched out his finger as a pen and wrote 2 words in front of him. Purgatory. It turned out to be a 2-character talisman. The next moment, the 2 words turned into 2 fairy wheels and flew to his feet. Woohoo, go home. The fairy wheel rolled, taking Lin Zhenghong flying towards the entrance of chaos. Jixian Mountain is no longer inhabited. Zuyun stood in front of the mine, his eyes were completely on the 16 words. This was written by Ye Yang. He once thought that Ye Yang was a man of outstanding talent. But now that he knew more about Ye Yang, Zuyun couldn't help but sigh. Huang Mingxing's Ye Yang was just his clone. From Qiu Linjian's words, we can know that Ye Yang's original goal was Huang Mingxing's world will. So, what did he want the world will to do? The most important thing is that Qiu Linjian also condensed an incarnation and went down to the world at the same time. But in the end, Huang Mingxing collapsed. Zuyun shook his head and thought of Wan Potion. Wan Potion is a sword fairy. He is also in the realm of Immortal King. After being knocked down by Nangong Tianli from Huang Mingxing, his immortal soul was also sealed. He had a dispute with Ye Yang, but Wan Potion seemed to not recognize Ye Yang, who had become the central immortal emperor. There are doubts here too. It would be great if I could meet Wan Potion again. Wan Potion only said that Ye Yang had the title of immortal king, and never knew that he was the immortal emperor. Shaking his head, Zuyun threw these distracting thoughts out of his mind. Now that Jixian mountain is empty, it is better to bring Mengwei back and let her practice her magic body in this cave, and perhaps there will be unexpected gains. Zuyun thought so, and his figure flashed, and he entered the ancestral land of the Tianming ancestral beast. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1731. As soon as Zuyun appeared, he met Long Wu. It's as if he has been here forever. Zuyun, long time no see. Long Wu smiled and said hello, and then said, are you here to see Dream Fairy? Yes, how is she now? Zuyun also smiled. Seeing Long Wu's expression showed that Mengwei was in good condition. The demonic body has been formed, but it hasn't woken up yet. Maybe it's waiting for you to come over, right? As Long Wu said that, he turned around and led Zuyun over. Zuyun followed closely, nervous and excited at the same time. Until he saw the magic jade bed, where Mengwei was sleeping soundly. But those double eyelids were trembling constantly, as if they were dreaming. Zuyun stopped, his heart moved, and he used the divine eye technique to look over. But in an instant, a jet-black pure demonic energy followed his gaze. Lu Chen's expression changed and he quickly removed the divine eye technique. But the next moment, Mengwei was standing in front of him with a smile. Zuyun, you have disturbed my sweet dream. Zuyun was startled and said, you are already asleep, how can you still sense my divine eye technique? Mengwei pointed at his own eyes and said with a smile, I am born with magic eyes. If you use other magical skills, I may not be able to sense them. But if you use the divine eye technique, what do you think? I see. Zuyun also smiled, looked up and down, and said, how do you feel now? It feels pretty good. It seems that your universe is quite suitable for demons to survive. Zuyun smiled bitterly and said, you don't want the Holy Demon Clan to move here, do you? Mengwei actually did not deny it, saying, the immortal way only controls you humans and demons, but it will not affect the demons. If the demons come here, I have to say that this is a good place, and it is also it won't affect the changes in your universe. Zuyun thought for a moment and said, then what are your plans? Go to Chaotic Star Sea. Mengwei nodded, then took out his magic knife and said, actually, my demon body has already been formed, but I have been thinking about where I should go. Not long ago, I suddenly figured out that in the fairy world this place is not the place where the demons should come. And your universe is all-encompassing, and all kinds of power seem to be able to stay in this world. Maybe the demons can do it too. Zuyun said nothing, just stared at Mengwei. In addition, Mengwei continued, there has been endless civil strife in the Chaos Star Sea. Although there is no open struggle, secret fighting has always existed. Only in this way can it be possible for those extraterrestrial demons to take advantage of it and finally infiltrate into the fairy world. Therefore, my final idea is to help you solve the crisis in the fairy world as much as possible. If I continue to be by your side, I can only be your woman. Although this is good, I still want to do my part for you. At the end of Mengwei's words, he still lowered his head and kept playing with the magic knife in his hand. Zuyun took a deep breath and said, Wei, I respect your choice, but nowadays, the immortal world is in endless chaos. The major immortal emperors and even the immortal monarchs are plotting against each other and colluding to exploit each other. No one knows. Mengwei smiled and said, don't worry, ordinary immortals would not dare to enter the Chaos Star Sea. And we, the holy demon race, are also existences that most demon races are afraid of. Zuyun frowned and said, then when you enter the chaotic sea of stars, will anyone take action against you? For example, the holy demon clan? After all, in the fairy land we were in, someone from the holy demon clan has already come to look for you. Hearing this, Meng Hui's eyes narrowed and he said coldly, if they dare, my demon sword is not a vegetarian. Zuyun, don't forget, I am a saint from the holy demon tribe. Now, there is something different added to this magic knife, and there is a fire from the sky in my body. If they dare to come, I will kill them. Zuyun took a deep breath and said, what if it is a demon king who is comparable to the immortal Luo Tian? Meng Hui smiled sweetly and said, Zuyun, don't look down on me anymore, Long Wu also gave me some help. In other words, I also have a trump card. Zuyun smiled bitterly, he knew Meng Hui's temperament, and no matter what he said, he could not make her change her mind, so he decided not to stop her anymore, and said, I can let you leave, but, how about waiting for a while? Meng Hui narrowed his eyes and said, why, are you in trouble in my Anbei fairy kingdom? Although for her, hundreds of years have passed. But Meng Hui cared about Zuyun, so he naturally remembered that the last time they separated was on the way to Mayanbei Fairy Kingdom. Mayanbei Fairyland, so be it? Zuyun still nodded. It would be quite troublesome to explain this. Do you need my help? Meng Hui raised the magic knife in her hand, and a flash of grey light appeared through her fingers. Zuyun smiled. That's not necessary. However, when you are on your way to Luanzhongai, don't be careful of Qiu Linjian. I think she may also be up to no good. Meng Hui nodded and understood what Zuyun meant, just don't trust anyone. Well, Zuyun said with a smile, then now, do you want to stay here or go back to the Immortal Mansion? Let's go to the Immortal Mansion, Meng Hui tilted his head and said, time flows so fast in the universe. You don't even know how much I miss you during this time. Such straightforward words made Zuyun blush. After greeting Long Wu, Zuyun took Meng Hui by the hand, and in a flash, he appeared in the Immortal Mansion the next moment. It seems, this Immortal Mansion is a little different. Meng Hui looked around, but could not find anything. It is a little different, Zuyun did not let go, and led Meng Hui to the gate of the Immortal Mansion. After facing the void, he turned around and pointed to the plaque on the door and said, look here. It seems. Others may not be able to see it, but Meng Hui can clearly see the jade slip hidden in the plaque through his magic eyes. The originally green jade slip was glowing with a familiar red light. She hesitated for a moment and said, Dragon Suppressing Stone. Yes, Dragon Suppressing Stone. You turned Dragon Suppressing Stone into a weapon immortal. Meng Hui was surprised, and upon hearing this, Dragon Suppressing Stone also emerged from the plaque and landed on the spot, laughing, Madam, what's wrong with this? Meng Hui thought for a moment and said, it's not that it's not good, I'm just afraid that you are just a demon dragon soul from the lower world and can't control such a large fairy palace. Zuyun frowned and said, do you know something? I don't remember, Meng Hui sighed, saying, I only remember that the original weapon immortal was a fairy king. If an ordinary demon soul would be enough, then why did Nangong Tianli spend so much effort to refine the fairy king into a weapon immortal? I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1732. Hearing this, Zuyun also frowned. Yes, originally a mirror and a magic weapon, Nangong Tianli not only split it into two sides, but also refined two weapon immortals into each of the two sides. If the dragon suppressing stone is used as a weapon immortal, let alone whether he can control the immortal mansion, what about the great universe world? Although it is a world, it is always incomplete. Could it be that in the end, even if it is perfected, there is still something missing? Immortal Lord Lian Zhen understands the laws of time and has deeper control than ordinary immortals. Similarly, the Array Immortal also understands the way of space and is also a leader in the immortal world. So does this cosmic glazed mirror still have aspects that I don't know about and haven't explored yet? But Zuyun, you don't have to worry for the time being. Meng Wei was afraid that his words would affect Zuyun, so he glanced at the dragon suppressing stone, and then smiled. Anyway, it's not really a big problem. It might be Nangong Tianli's imagination. That's what it's like to create a perfect immortal weapon, right? No, Zuyun shook his head and said, Nangong Tian's centrifuge is extremely deep, and you see, he used the law of time and the law of space, maybe because he wanted to break through the levels of these two laws. As for his final, the purpose is unknown. But what is certain is that Nangong Tianli definitely wants to become stronger. Zuyun had always felt that Nangong Tianli, as a nightmare, wanted to invade the fairy world to find a more suitable place for the demon world to survive. But at this moment, he suddenly remembered, how could such a selfish person consider other extraterrestrial demons? In this case, he must be thinking about himself. There is only one purpose, to become stronger. Strong enough to break through the level of the fairy world. However, he may have gone in the wrong direction and let the glazed mirror of the universe represent time and space respectively. But I want to merge the two laws together. Become the law of time and space. Maybe, I'm on the right path. Zuyun gradually figured it out, and said to the dragon suppressing stone, you continue to act according to the plan, don't think about what Wei will say. Zhenlongshi smiled bitterly and said, Mother's words always make me feel a little naughty in my heart. What kind of knots can you have? Zuyun glared at him angrily and said, why do you want to become the immortal of the immortal mansion? For eternal life. Zhenlongshi said without hesitation. Isn't that what it is? Zuyun asked back, and then said, you are your immortal. If the immortal mansion is not destroyed, you will live forever. And even if the immortal mansion is taken away, ordinary immortals will not kill you and replace you with something else immortal. This statement made sense. Zhenlongshi figured it out immediately. Yes, I just want to live forever, why do I care about so many things? Just control this fairy mansion well. But now, the only thing he has to face is the true body of immortal Lord Lian Zhen. And this trouble does not need to be dealt with directly by him, just leave everything to Zuyun. I see. Zhenlongshi suddenly realized something, and at the same time he thought of something in his mind. Then his figure flashed, turned into a red light again, and got into the plaque. Zuyun, then I will wait for your good news in this fairy mansion. Meng Wei understood a little bit and said to Zuyun with a smile. Well, when I'm safe, I'll let you go to the Sea of Stars. The two said goodbye, and Zuyun returned to the world of Dazhu again. He was looking for one more thing. Ximen Yuanking's bracelet. It will take some time to improve your realm. It is better to find the bracelet and then find the source of origin. These two things can be done at the same time without any delay. After appearing in the world of Dazhu, Zuyun continued to run towards Qingping Immortal Kingdom. A few days later, he stood in front of Ji Tianking's bed again. But during the time he took Meng Wei to the Immortal Mansion, as far as the universe was concerned, dozens of days had already passed. Ji Tianking's face lost a lot of weight. The concubines in the harem did not gather here, but took turns taking care of him. Zuyun suddenly appeared here, startling the two concubines. I've seen Zhu Xian. Both women knelt down. Zuyun smiled slightly and said, no courtesy, no need to be polite. Thank you Zuxian. The two women stood up tremblingly, neither daring to face Zuyun directly. How is he doing? Zuyun was afraid of frightening the two women, so he did not use the divine eye technique. Instead, he put his hand over and used his immortal sense to examine Ji Tianking's body. Generally speaking, as Ji Tianqing is the immortal emperor of Qingping Immortal Kingdom and has immortal roots, he was optimistic last time that nothing unexpected would happen. But it had only been a while, but his body seemed to have aged. The appearance becomes old, indicating that the longevity is disappearing. But looking at Ji Tianqing's vitality, there seems to be no problem. In a short period of time, there is no fear of life. The situation is fine, there is no problem. A concubine bowed and said. Another one also said, the queen ordered us to take turns taking care of him and taking medicine for him. Today is our turn. We were just about to give His Majesty the medicine when Zhu Xian came. Although the two women were a little scared, their tone was neither humble nor arrogant. Zhu Yun nodded slightly and probed into the immortal consciousness. But in an instant, he suddenly opened his eyes, his gaze piercing the two women like two sharp knives. Bang! The medicine bowl in the hand of a concubine fell to the ground, and the strong smell of medicine spread out. Smoke, soul, disperse. Zhu Yun was furious. When the medicine was in the bowl, he didn't smell any special smell. He could only feel that it was a medicine that replenished qi and blood. But at this moment, the bowl of broken medicine was flowing, and that familiar smell came straight to the nose. Who is responsible for frying this medicine? Zhu Yun roared, waved his hands to form a formation, and a small 9-turn 9-yang fairy formation suddenly took shape. It's not very powerful, but it can be done to trap these two women and prevent your voice from being heard. This medicine was prepared by the doctors in the medical clinic. We are only responsible for delivering the medicine. I hope Zhu Xian spares his life. The two women knelt on the ground, unable to move under Zhu Yun's magical power. Medical clinic. Zhu Yun narrowed his eyes and said, the medical center in the palace. Who is in charge? Return to Zuxian, it's the prince. It's the prince. Another concubine said quickly. Prince. Zhu Yun was not interested in Ji Tianqing's personal affairs. Of course, he also knew that when Qingping Fairy Kingdom had just merged into the Dazhu world, Ji Tianqing said that he would work hard to have a son, so he had 3,000 beauties in the harem. As for who the prince is, he doesn't care. As long as Ji Tianqing remains in his universe world, no one can take away his position as the immortal emperor. But now, the prince wants to murder Ji Tianqing? This is an attempt to usurp the throne. Zhu Yun's eyes narrowed, and then he stepped out of the immortal formation. His figure flashed and he immediately stood on the roof. Prince of the Ji family, come see me quickly. The voice condensed immortal power and spread loudly from the roof, echoing throughout the entire imperial city. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1733. For a moment, all the people on the streets of the imperial city looked up. Even some immortals who were practicing in their houses walked out of their houses. After seeing Zhu Yun, everyone knelt on the ground. But the prince was nowhere to be seen. Where is he? Zhu Yun did not know Prince Ji. Even if he used his immortal sense, he could not find who he was. However, this did not mean that his immortal sense was useless. In an instant, Zhu Yun spread his immortal sense to the entire imperial city. Everyone's every move was under his control. Then, Zhu Yun spoke again and said, all descendants of the Ji family, come to see me quickly. Otherwise, life or death. Dare to touch Ji Tianqing, it is a capital crime. Not to mention, the act of rebellion. After this sentence, the imperial city began to move. Even on the street, many people stood up and ran towards the palace. And the same was true inside the palace. Apart from some males, the concubines in the harem also rushed over with anxious expressions. They didn't know what happened, so they naturally guessed that it might be their immortal emperor, who had passed away. An hour later, There were nearly 10,000 people standing in the open space of the palace. These were all descendants of Ji Tianqing. "Prince, are you here?" Zhu Yun's eyes were sharp as he glanced over. These descendants of the Ji family were over 100 years old. The youngest were also over 10 years old. Although he was asking questions, his immortal sense had scanned everyone. Since he was the prince, he must be quite old. Seeing these people whispering, but no one pointed out who the prince was, Zhu Yun's heart skipped a beat. Could it be? Let's all go. Zhu Yun waved his hand feebly, and he understood. Since the prince dared to poison Ji Tianqing, he might have left the imperial city. But, was his purpose only for the throne? Thinking about it now, he felt that he had guessed wrong before. Ji Tianqing has an infinite lifespan. This is the relationship between their Qingping immortal kingdom. If you want to get the throne, why not grab it earlier or later? Why do you have to grab it at this time? Moreover, you have to wait until Ji Tianqing suddenly fell into a coma and lost consciousness. In other words, the matter may have something to do with Ji Tianqing's coma. Killing is nothing more than nodding your head, but killing. There is always a motive. Ji Tianqing has no ambitions, and he was not even happy to let him be the immortal emperor. If there is a suitable candidate, he will definitely tell me that the throne will be inherited by the prince. So, what happened before? Outside the open space, there are a group of concubines. Zhu Yun's immortal consciousness has already swept over them, which is why he asked the princes to disperse. Come in. Zhu Yun spoke lightly, and the 3,000 beauties lowered their eyebrows and heads, all of which were in Zhu Yun's eyes. It seems that they don't know either, Zhu Yun whispered, and then said, who is the prince's biological mother? Zhu Xian, I am. The queen stood up, her eyes slightly worried. Where is the prince, do you know? Reply to Zhu Xian, I don't know. The prince is already 100 years old, how can I care about her? Last time he went treasure hunting, I told him not to wander around, but he didn't listen. A month ago, he came back and said that he had prepared a good prescription for your majesty to cure the disease, and asked us to give your majesty the medicine on time, and then he left again. Zhu Yun said coldly, then do you know that this medicine is mixed with Yan Hunsen? Yan Hunsen, in Qingping Immortal Kingdom, it can be said that everyone knows it. This is a banned drug. After Ji Tianqing took office as the immortal emperor, it was banned, and even the three words Yan Hunsen could not be mentioned. The effect of Yan Hunsen, in addition to corroding the immortal roots of immortals and affecting their lifespan, it can also control people who have taken it with the mother medicine. This medicine is poisonous. Zhu Xian, is what you said true? The queen was terrified. This is a capital crime. The prince is her flesh and blood. Do I have to lie to you? Don't you see that your majesty is getting thinner every day? We just take turns to look after him, and we don't know. With a clatter, all the concubines knelt down. Zhu Yun sighed when he saw this. They really didn't know. It seems that the problem still needs to be found from the prince. But the queen seemed to have mentioned two words before. Treasure hunting? You said that the prince went treasure hunting before? Where did he go to find treasure? What treasure did he find? Zhu Yun suddenly remembered that when he found Ji Tianqing took the initiative to help him calculate. That's it, and he fainted directly. The treasure that the prince was looking for, could it be that bracelet? The bracelet that can find the origin spring. And the most important thing is that the previous owner of the origin spring, Xian Wuzong, is also a member of the Ji family. Is there any connection between them? Zhu Yun felt something was wrong. It seemed that he had to find the prince quickly. I don't know. I really don't know. The queen was already crying. Zhu Yun took a deep breath and said, you continue to stay in the palace and don't leave. The same applies to everyone. After that, He turned and left. But as soon as he appeared in the city, he saw a flash of a ray pattern under his golden body. Then, a sea monster and a formation fairy appeared at the same time. Teleportation formation? City Lord Shui set it up. As soon as the formation fairy appeared, he saw Zuyun, his face lit up with joy, and he ran over quickly. Good boy, it's so hard for me to find you. Take a look, is this fairy weapon related to you? Zuyun took it and said speechlessly, how did this bracelet fall into your hands? It's really yours, the formation fairy smiled. I was lying on the sea of the world to bask in the sun, but it turned out to be a flying bracelet from the sky, which almost smashed my forehead. However, this bracelet has a positioning formation, so I went to find your master and removed the formation seal on it. Finally, I met you again, in the fairy formation, but you left as soon as you said you would, and I couldn't give it back to you. Zuyun's heart trembled. This bracelet was thrown into the world of the universe in this way. Was Ximen Yuanking's bracelet also thrown in the same way, and then it was discovered by the prince? But then again, I can sense the position of this bracelet, why can't I sense the position of that bracelet? Is it because of the chaos immortal power? Zuyun pondered, and suddenly his heart moved, and the bracelet quickly turned gray and white. It's really related to you. Beside him, Xianxia stared and said, fortunately, there is no formation used for tracking on it, otherwise, others would have found the great universe world. Zuyun glanced at Xianxia, and then said, there is another bracelet in the great universe world, I can't find it. It belongs to Ximen Yuanqing. 11. Western Immortal Emperor. Xianxia took a breath. Zuyun nodded and said, so, can you help me find it? Ximen Yuanqing is good at the 7-star law. If you want to find it, maybe it would be better to ask your master to help. Xianxia frowned, thought hard, and found a person he thought was suitable. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1734. My master is just an ordinary monk. How can I be so virtuous and capable? Zuyun felt that Xianxia was joking with him. Yes, he is an ordinary monk, the formation immortal smiled, but how much do you know about him? Zuyun was stunned by this question. Like, he really didn't know much about Ye Xuanhua. Ever since Zuyun was sure that Ye Xuanhua was sincere to him, he never thought about what happened to Ye Xuanhua. Of course, he also knew that Ye Xuanhua had many discussions with the formation immortal. Looking back at this moment, if Ye Xuanhua didn't have any ability, how could an immortal like Xianxia talk to him at Bingzuyi? Even more, why would the formation immortal go to Ye Xuanhua immediately if he wanted to erase the formation seal on the chaos bracelet? Array immortal, do you mean that my master can really do it? The formation immortal shook his head and said, I'm just saying that as far as your universe is concerned, there is no one more suitable than him. You think that I just discussed the formation Deo with him, but in fact, he talks about everything. Although he doesn't have much talent in cultivation, you must know that the law relies more on understanding. He sees it more clearly than you do. Zuyun was also greatly surprised to be able to receive such a high evaluation from an immortal lord. After pondering for a moment, he said, then what you mean is that my master can understand these 7 methods and finally extend them a kind of avenue. The path of immortality is as mysterious as it is profound, the formation immortal smiled, it's like a handful of air. If you make a fist, the air in your fist will stay in the seam of your fist. But if you release your fist, the air will be in your fist in the palm of your hand, the immortal way is invisible and the law is invisible. What matters is how you understand it. I probably understand a little bit. The explanation from the formation Immortal seemed to have given Zuyun some guidance. I wanted to integrate the laws of time and the laws of space, but I couldn't find a way to do it, so I thought of integrating the Great Universe Immortal Mansion and the Great Universe World. But at this moment, he realized that he had taken a long way. The law is invisible and the avenue is invisible. Time is invisible, and space is also invisible. So why do I deliberately integrate the two? Deo Immortal Mansion is refined according to the law of time, but Deo Immortal Mansion itself is a space. The world of Dazhu is the opposite, but in this world, when he was the envoy, the difference in the flow rate of time also changed. Zuyun had already realized this earlier, but he had been unable to get it. Now that I heard what the Immortal said, it seemed that there was no need to be too entangled. Suddenly, he had a new idea in his mind. However, we have to wait until the Great Universe Immortal Mansion is placed in this Great Universe world. I understand, then go find Master first. Then let's go, you have to protect me. The Immortal smiled, patted the sea monster, and signaled it to go back. Teleportation array. Zuyun nodded slightly and looked at his golden body. Yes, the teleportation array is much more convenient. The two of them flew towards the teleportation array at the same time. After a while, they appeared under the 7-star peak. I didn't expect that your world has changed so much. Seeing Zuyun looking around curiously, Xianxia couldn't help but smile. Yes, Zuyun touched his nose and said, although I can already use the original power of the universe, I am still a little short of completely controlling the universe. Zuyun smiled, now he has a thought in Deo Immortal Mansion, no matter where people are, he can know it. But the universe world is still almost interesting. In addition, the time changes in the universe world are too fast under his acceleration. It can take several years. As long as he is outside the world, sometimes in the blink of an eye, a long time has passed here. But conversely, does the world of the universe also lack a weapon immortal? Or, when the Great Universe Immortal Mansion is integrated, the dragon suppressing stone will also become the immortal weapon of the Great Universe world. But in this world, how can one refine an artifact? Or should I say? A picture suddenly appeared in Zuyun's mind. The yin and yang chaotic circle appeared on the hilt of Menghui's magic knife. The will of the world? While they were thinking deeply, Yesuanhua suddenly appeared in front of the two of them. Seeing this immortal lord and a golden immortal appear here, Yesuanhua said angrily, you two came to me together, there must be nothing good going on. Zuyun came back to his senses and said with a smile, Master, long time no see. Yesuanhua snorted and said, you have known about it for a long time? Tell me, what happened this time? For Zuyun, this is not a long time. But Yesuanhua, even if he said that he had no time to cultivate immortality, it was really too long. Every time we meet, we pass by in a hurry. Yesuanhua certainly knew that something was wrong with Zuyun. As long as the world of the universe is not fully formed, it is impossible for Zuyun to sit down and have a pleasant conversation with him. He can understand. It was the formation immortal who said that only you could help me, so I came here. Zuyun pursed his lips towards the array immortal. Array immortal smiled and said, go up and tell us. Of course. I, the majestic leader of the 7-star sect, talk at the foot of the mountain and let those boys see it? Isn't it a joke? It can be said that all people in the world of Dazhu are cultivating immortality. Yesuanhua was responsible for bringing in some ordinary people who had no obvious talent for cultivating immortals, and learned the skills of the 7 paths from him. Because the lifespan of the creatures here is not affected by the speed of time, no matter how dumb they are, they still have enough time. It is true that the early bird flies first. Zuyun looked around and saw that there were indeed many children, looking at them curiously. His eyes kept switching back and forth between Yesuanhua and Zuyun. Zuyun smiled and greeted them, followed Yesuanhua to the top of the mountain, and said with a smile, "Master, are these all your disciples?" Yesuanhua rolled his eyes and said, "How can I teach them all? I still need to comfort so many of your junior brothers in the tribulation crossing stage, and I can't take care of these little kids. They are all taken care of by the disciples in the Mahayana and fusion stages." Zuyun heard the resentment in these words. Obviously, it was those disciples in the tribulation crossing stage who could not attract the heavenly tribulation for a long time, which probably put some pressure on Yesuanhua. His eyes condensed slightly. "I don't know if this will cause trouble for Yesuanhua. Master, if anyone dares to disrespect." At this time, they just landed. Yesuanhua waved his hand, and said proudly, "Stinky boy, don't look down on Master. Although they are at the same level, all the skills they have now are learned from Master. Even though my level is only the divine transformation, it is still easy to control them." "Master," Zuyun thought for a while and said, "how about letting Xianxia be here too?" Xianxia smiled bitterly. "Zuyun, are you asking me to be your thug?" Zuyun smiled and said, "What are you afraid of? It just so happens that if there is a clue about the bracelet, I must go to find it. Do I stay here and you go to the teleportation array?" Zhenxian touched his chin, but Yesuanhua said, "Bracelet? What bracelet?" "A bracelet that can make two immortals ask him for help must be a good thing. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills." Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1735. It's up to you to tell me. Seeing Yesuanhua looking at him, Zhenxian said to Zuyun, in fact, he didn't even know what the bracelet looked like. Zuyun thought for a moment and said, "Let's call that bracelet a 7-star bracelet." 7-star bracelet. Yesuanhua's eyes lit up. If Zuyun calls him this, he will definitely have his own explanation. "Well," Zuyun nodded and said, "the owner of this bracelet was originally an immortal king." Hearing this, Yesuanhua suddenly took a breath. He has talked a lot with the formation immortal, so he naturally knows what the immortal lord represents. Zuyun did not mention the word immortal emperor because he was actually afraid of scaring Yesuanhua. "Tell me, what is the magical function of that bracelet? Why should I come to find it?" Yesuanhua asked, suppressing the excitement in his heart. His formation has made great progress, but finally encountered a bottleneck. In other aspects, he has almost reached the level of cultivation. The only one of its kind. Due to his innate conditions, Yesuanhua's weapon refining could not help him much. But if he could obtain an immortal weapon and understand some of its refining methods, he might be able to take his weapon a step further, thereby breaking through the realm of divine transformation and impacting on the realm of refining the void. Although his temper has faded. But after all, who is a cultivator who doesn't want to be able to cultivate stronger? "I don't know what the specific function is," Zuyun took out the chaos bracelet and said, "I can only say that its function, like this one, is also for positioning. That's why I have to find it. Get it, lest the immortal lord finally find the world of the universe." Yesuanhua's brows wrinkled. This shows the seriousness of the matter, and it is no wonder that Zhenxian and Zuyun came to him together. And the law that the immortal lord cultivates is the 7-star law. Next, let the formation immortal tell you. How to find it, I don't know. The formation immortal took a step forward and said, "Now this bracelet has been obtained by an immortal, and it is very likely to be hidden somewhere. But the immortal's cultivation level is not high, and even if he obtains the 7-star bracelet, he cannot completely control this magical weapon. Moreover, this magical weapon is definitely only used for locating and finding objects. And what you have done is to use your 7 paths to extend to the 7-star law, thereby causing the resonance of this immortal bracelet, so that you can find it better." Yesuanhua frowned and said, "I am in the stage of becoming a god, and you want me to understand the law?" "Yes, And no, the array immortal said with a smile, that's an immortal, and you are a monk. The way you practice is different, and it can only be said that each has its own advantages and disadvantages. After all, you are in the stage of transformation, and the way you practice is also it's related to Qi, and it's easier to get the approval of that immortal weapon than him. From what I see. The formation immortal looked at Zuyun and said, among the immortal weapons, even if there is a weapon immortal, it's not strong enough, right? Zuyun thought for a moment, it seems that there is no weapon immortal. No weapon immortal. The formation immortal thought for a moment and said, then do you know what other magical uses the 7-star bracelet has besides positioning? Zuyun stared at the formation immortal, hesitated, and said, Ximan Yuanqing wants to find the source of origin. What did you say? The array immortal's face changed drastically and he said, then you are in chaos now. Yes, Zuyun smiled bitterly, what do you think? The formation immortal paced back and forth and finally said, then Ximan Yuanqing, is he still in chaos? That's not true. Zuyun raised his head and looked at the sky. At this time, the sky was getting darker and the stars gradually appeared. After a while, he looked back and said, I have driven him out of the chaos. In the chaos, the realm is suppressed, and I have the immortal soul hammer and many methods, so he dare not confront me head on. You are quite capable. The formation immortal also stared at Zuyun and said, however, fortunately we are in chaos. If this were in the fairy world, it might be a bit difficult. Zuyun smiled bitterly and said, there is no way, the fairy world is too chaotic. He turned to look at Yesuanhua and said, Master, you heard it too. This 7-star bracelet is of great importance, and I need your help. I really don't know, you immortals have to ask me to help you. Yesuanhua also sighed, I can only do my best. Zuyundeo, the only good news is that time here flows fast enough. After leaving the matter to them, Zuyun went to Qingping Fairyland alone. With the teleportation array, it won't take much time. After Ji Tianqing stopped taking Yan Hansen, her body recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. But still can't wake up. He ordered all the concubines not to disturb him, while he stared at Ji Tianqing, thinking about where the prince would go. Although he cannot sense the entire universe. But as long as you are in the universe world, as long as you have the heart, you can still sense the changes in the world within a certain range. Just like now that he is in the imperial city, it is not difficult to know every move of the entire imperial city. I'm not familiar with the cultivation methods of immortals. And the prince of the Ji family probably inherited the immortal roots of fortune-telling. But no matter how talented he is, he can't surpass Ji Tianqing, can he? Ji Tianqing can't even count me, could it be that kid? Can you still think that I will find him? Zuyun frowned tightly and stared at Ji Tianqing for a long time, and finally stood up. He certainly wouldn't be too far away. It was an immortal weapon, and he might not have known how important it was at first, so he revealed it to the queen. This shows that his scheming was not deep enough, but later, he suddenly wanted to poison Ji Tianqing. What caused it? Was there anyone instigating it? Could it be that, there is actually a weapon immortal in this immortal weapon, and there may even be Ximan Yuanqing's remnant consciousness immortal soul? It's just that I didn't notice it at first. Zuyun kept guessing, although Yesuanhua was already helping. But he can't just sit back and enjoy the success. It is related to the safety of the universe. He is here, wondering if Ximan Yuanqing will turn back into chaos again and finally discover the world of the universe. A world star, not even Deluo Jinxian can stop it. Not to mention that the world of the universe is not perfect yet, and what we are facing is the immortal lord. The closest place to the imperial city and the least likely place to be discovered, may be the demonic Dragon Valley. Zuyun decided to go to Demon Dragon Valley to explore. Demon Dragon Valley is a very special existence in Qingping Immortal Kingdom. And since Jingping Fairy Kingdom was completely integrated into the world of the universe, the demon dragons that originally lived in the Demon Dragon Valley did not go back in the end. Because there is a magic pit in the Gobi Desert opposite the place where the demon dragon lives. Besides, the Destiny ancestral beasts already have their ancestral land, and these orcs will naturally gather there. It can be said that there are almost no monsters in Qingping Fairy Kingdom today. Naturally, Demonic Dragon Valley became a deserted land. And ordinary immortals don't know where it is. Maybe the prince of the G family. It is possible that he is hiding in the Demonic Dragon Valley.